Okay, lesson 9. How about that? Um, so, looking at paragraph 4 in the entire essay, or the third paragraph after the introductory paragraph. Let's read. Different students react differently when there is a camera in the room. Some students get nervous and flustered, trying hard to stay focused on their work with a camera focused on them. 90% of students claim that they do better work when they are calmer, and cameras are not going to help. Other students look at cameras as a source of entertainment. These students will do things such as wave at the camera, make faces, or say hi to the people watching through the camera. This could be a big distraction for others who are trying to learn and participate in class. Still, other students will try to trick the camera. They will find a way to block the lens or do something that the camera will not be likely to catch. All of these different students will be distracted by the cameras in their classrooms. All right, what do you think of that paragraph? I'd love to know your ideas. Sorry that we can't talk about it. I think that that may be his best written paragraph of the 3 paragraphs in the body of his essay. I think it is a little clearer, and I think he gets his point across in this paragraph maybe better than the other 2 that we read. We can see here that he's clearly stating the idea of cameras creating distractions in classrooms. And goodness knows we have enough distractions in our lives and in classrooms with a lot of people and various noises and things going on. We don't need more distractions, and he's really pointing that out. And he even, supports that by saying, well, for some students, it makes them nervous. Flustered is a word that's kind of, we use that just to mean that, we're overly worried or nervous or anxious about something. So for some students, it's very uncomfortable. And then some students, there are those kids who are gonna do silly things just because there's a camera there. And then there are those students who want to trick the camera and create a problem for the administrator or whoever is, viewing the video, and that's a distraction and a time. It takes up people's time and energy. And then you've even got people who would try to block it, and most likely, to do that just to be silly or naughty, but perhaps the camera could be blocked to actually hide some kind of behavior. He says no matter what the reasons, cameras are distracting, and I think his point comes across pretty clearly in that paragraph. So if we go all the way back to the introduction and we look at the question that also serves as his topic introduction, how could it possibly be a good idea to put cameras in classrooms? Let's see if he sort of argues that out here. We have the first paragraph in the body, and he argues or discusses that cameras aren't necessary because there are teachers there. Teachers take the place of the camera. They're the eyes and the ears, okay? They're gonna see what happens. If they step out for a minute, usually all that happens is kids are gonna talk, okay? So he doesn't see that a camera is really necessary. The next paragraph, he is using the idea of expense being, the reason why he doesn't see how it's a good idea to put cameras in the classroom. They're just expensive, and schools have a hard time paying for everything. Schools don't have big budgets, and having cameras is just another big item on the budget, and he doesn't think that it's worth it. Then, in the third paragraph of the body, he talks about the camera as being very distracting. He uses that idea and discusses it by giving several ways in which camera can be distracting. So I feel like he really satisfies his topic. I think he has argued why cameras in classrooms might not be such a good idea, at least to him, okay? So how does he conclude? The conclusion of an essay is what sort of wraps up all of the ideas. We used the word the other day, and one of our organizers uses the word clincher. Clinch means to grab. It rhymes with pinch, and it's interesting because they're similar. Okay, when you pinch something, you grab it. Clinch is sort of the same thing. It pulls together. Okay, other ideas, other things. Okay. Sometimes in a movie, the clincher of the movie will be when the murderer has been revealed, or whatever in the movie is the big moment that ties everything together. All right, so let's see if he clinches his topic here and leaves the reader feeling satisfied that he has done the job that he set out to do. Okay? His conclusion is very short. It's only 3 sentences long. Instead of solving problems, cameras would cause problems. This is why I disagree with the idea to put cameras in classrooms. This plan should not be put to action. All right. This concluding paragraph is, in my opinion, rather weak. I think it states what it needs to state, but I think it doesn't say it in an interesting way. I think it doesn't clinch the essay in a way that leaves me feeling satisfied. It's kind of like starts strong, pretty good paragraphs in the middle, and then, I don't know, the ending is just kind of like, not that exciting. I think he could have written an ending that would say the same thing, but that also would feel more satisfying to the reader. One of the things that you can do in your concluding paragraph is you can use that as an opportunity to challenge your reader. You can use it as an opportunity to challenge your reader to think about something more deeply, to perhaps research something, to maybe take action and do something about a particular problem. Sometimes you can ask a question at the end of your essay. Again, maybe challenging the reader, maybe simply asking the reader to think more about it. What is your opinion, for instance? That could be a closing question in your concluding paragraph. So I think he could have done something that would have spiced this concluding paragraph up a little bit. He does make clear that his, what his opinion here is. But I do think that it's a little bit boring, and I would probably point that out and give the writer a few less points on that paragraph. So all in all, this exemplar is, I think, a good example. I do not think it is an outstanding example. I wanted us to see something that was sort of in the middle, that would give us an idea about what writers can do, but that would also make us think about how we can do something perhaps a little bit better even. So if I were going to assign points to this essay, if I were going to give each paragraph some points, I would probably give the introduction 5 points. I think it's a good introduction. If I'm doing a 1 to 5, I'd probably give 5 points there. I'd probably give about 3.5 on that second paragraph. So we're up to 8.5 points. On the third paragraph, the budget paragraph, I think it pretty much does what it needs to do. And I think that that paragraph is probably worth 5, so we're at 13.5 points. And then the next paragraph, I think, is also a good paragraph. I think it's pretty strong. And I think, you know, we could give that one certainly 4 points. Okay, so I think we're at 17.5. In the concluding paragraph, I can't give that one more than about 3 points. So we have 20.5 points out of a possible 25. One thing I want to mention is that length of paragraph is not the goal. Length of essay is not the goal, unless you've been told that your essay must contain, you know, 1,500 words or 2,000 words. Obviously, you have to figure out a way to make that happen. A longer paragraph, however, doesn't mean a better paragraph. I think that's pretty universally understood, that it's what you say, how you say it. Is it concise? Is it clear? Are your examples good and strong examples? Have you supported your main ideas? So we will revisit this topic some more. I want to take our writing in some different directions. For right now, we'll set this aside. I do want to spend a little time on this particular essay and mention some revisions and some edits to you. And we will do that on Thursdays, in one of Thursday's lessons, because I want you to see some ways in which you might want to, or you might be able to amp this essay up a bit, okay? So I am going to set that aside for right now. We have about 8 minutes, and in this remaining 8 minutes, I'm going to introduce our next reading and review, or preview, excuse me, the vocabulary for that reading. I will be sending to you another ESL library link, and we will be, we will be reading about a very famous American in history, and one whom you may have already heard of. I hope that you have, perhaps. Her name was Susan B. Anthony. Susan B. Anthony. Students in the United States begin to learn about Susan B. Anthony in early grades. You may have seen your own children reading something about her. However, she is someone in American history who is studied all the way through university levels and influences our lives every day to this day. So it is worthy of our time to learn about Susan B. Anthony. I would be curious, if I were with you right now, to ask you, have you heard her name? Have you read anything about her before? I'd be very curious to know. Susan B. Anthony is known as the leader, or the leading woman in securing the right for women in the United States to be able to vote. She lived at a time when our society was very, very male-dominated. Some people would say, there's still male domination in the United States, and I won't go there. I think that we've made a lot of progress, and Susan B. Anthony had a lot to do with that progress. She was a revolutionary type woman when there weren't many revolutionary type women out there in politics or in other areas. She began her life in a large family. I think she had 7 or 8 siblings. They lived kind of up in the New York, I think, Rochester area. She became a teacher, and women at that time, back in the time of her youth, which would have been in the late 1820s or early 1830s, she would have been maybe 15 years old, 16 years old, and she would have already become a teacher, because at that time, you had education for a certain number of years, 5, 6, 7 years, and then you started teaching the younger ones, okay? So she became a teacher, and then as she grew into being a young woman, because of some religious beliefs that she had and some personal beliefs, she became very concerned about the legalization of alcohol and the use, excuse me, I didn't really mean to say legalization at that point, but the utilization of alcohol. She had big problems with what she felt was a substance that could only do harm in society, bring our society down. That was known in the United States as the temperance movement, T-E-M-P-E-R-A-N-C-E, temperance movement. And Susan B. Anthony became quite active in that for a period of time. But in doing that, she began to realize what it was like or began to feel what it was like to have influence, to have people listen to you, and to admire the work that you do. And she also began to really see that if the country was going to make decisions, big and small, create laws, about what people could and couldn't do, then it was also important that women would have a voice in the vote of those things. So whether it's having to do with the use and distribution of alcohol or whatever it might be, that these decisions shouldn't be left to men alone. So she became then much more active in just working towards the right for women to vote in whatever elections or voting for laws to be written or changed or whatever it may be. That became then her big effort in life, and that is what she concentrated her entire life on. She never married. She never had a family of her own. She gave her life to this, and it's fascinating to read about her. Not only the article that I'm going to give you, but you might want to do other research, because it was as if she was a way ahead of her time. Okay, she looked as if she might have been a quiet and strong and serene person, but actually she was not so quiet and she was not so serene. She had a voice and she used it in very admirable ways. I will pick up on this in session 9. In the meantime, I'm going to send the video to you, a link to you so that you can go ahead and read about Susan B. Anthony. And I will preview the vocabulary in lesson 9 for you.